heavyweight champions are not brand new. These are men who have accomplished an awful lot. Nigel Benn, the Dark Destroyer, and the virtual phenom with unnatural foot speed, hand speed, and reflexes, Roy Jones Jr. These are the men that maybe Hopkins will have to go eventually face if he's going to get the real proven worth he certainly desires.
All right, Sean O'Grady, let's talk about Steve Frank. Speaking of unknown quantities, Steve Frank is just that. Just the other day, he's watching Let's Make a Deal, and all of a sudden he got what's behind door number 3. Good news and bad news for Steve Frank. I think it's fair to say the good news is he doesn't have time to get nervous, and the bad news is he also doesn't have time to train.
Well, only 7 fights in the last 7 years for Steve Frank. He has not been the busiest of fighters as we take a look at his record. Make no mistake about it, this is a major step up for him. He's going in against one of the best fighters today, Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins, before he was champion, fought a lot of big names in this division, and he brings that experience into this fight with him. So make no mistake about it, Barry. Frankly, I think this is going to be a very difficult night for Steve.
Well, we've already had one short night. Steve Frank now will take on the onus that Jorge Luis Vada tried to do, and that is stick around for a little bit and maybe start to convince your opponent that you have a chance. They've been talking all week about hostilities here at the Super Bowl, that a fight may break out. I hope it breaks out in the next hour.
Fox Saturday Night Fights are brought to you by Miller Lite. When you've got the great taste of an ice-cold Miller Lite, life is good.
We welcome you back. We're in Phoenix, Arizona, the eve of the Super Bowl, but it's fight night here on Fox tonight. Terry Norris has already defeated Jorge Luis Vado, and now Bernard Hopkins taking on Steve Frank. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape, how these two match up with one another. Bernard Hopkins, the executioner in the mask, as you might expect. And Steve Frank on the right. Hopkins a year the senior of Frank. Both are 6 feet tall. And again, very little to choose here, although it's decided reach advantage for Frank. And he's a guy without a big punch, and that could serve him well. The IBF rules in this one, no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. The referee is the only one who can stop the fight. The fighter, as in the last fight, cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the final round. What's left then is to meet the combatants, and let's get to the center of the ring to Jimmy Lennon Jr. to do just that. Jimmy?
Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us across the nation on Fox, and sports fans joining us around the world, we welcome you to the Arizona Veterans Memorial Coliseum here in Phoenix, Arizona, for the featured attraction of the evening, brought to you by Don King Productions and Miller Lite. This bout coming your way is sanctioned by the International Boxing Federation, the President Robert Lee Sr., the Supervisor Hiawatha Knight, along with the Arizona State Boxing Commission. The Chairman is Stephen Friedman, Commissioners Michael Preston Green and Sally Garza Fernandez, the Executive Director John Montano, physicians at ringside Dr. Charles Howard and Dr. Robin McDougall. Timekeepers at the bell, also keeping count of the knockdowns, we have Martin Dominguez and Ray Scott. Introducing to you the judges scoring this bout from ringside, Aaron Kaiser, Sheila Harmon Martin, and John Stewart. Presenting to you our referee in charge of this bout, working in this, his 24th world title bout, Bobby Ferrara. All right, fans, here we go with our main event of the evening, the IBF Middleweight Championship of the World, scheduled for 12 rounds of boxing. Introducing to you first the challenger on my right, fighting out of the blue corner, entering the ring wearing white trunks with red trim, fighting out of it representing his hometown of Brooklyn, New York. He weighed in at the middleweight limit of 160 pounds. His record includes 15 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw, with 5 wins. Coming by way of knockout, please welcome the IBF number 9 rated middleweight contender, known as Steve Lionheart Frank. And his opponent across the ring on my left, fighting out of the red corner, is the defending world champion. Entering the ring wearing black trunks with gold trim, fighting out of it representing Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His weight, 159 pounds. His record is a fine one at 27 wins, only 2 losses, 1 draw, with 20 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight he is making the first defense of his title. Please welcome the IBF middleweight champion of the world, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins. Once again, here's our referee in charge, Bobby Ferrara.
Okay. Gentlemen, you received your rules in the dressing room. I expect a clean fight from both of you. This is for the IBF Middleweight Championship of the world. Protect yourselves at all times. Shake hands. Go back to your corner and wait for the bell. Come on.
So Steve Frank and Bernard Hopkins. Hopkins the champion. This is his first title defense. He won the title in a second effort from Segundo Mercado back in April. Hopkins, a man, as we said earlier, on a mission. Bowie Fischer in his corner has been around this sport for a long time. Steve Frank, and I think the onus is on Steve Frank to execute his game plan considerably better than Jorge Luis Vada did in his bout with Terry Norris. Now, Frank's idea is stay away, jab, don't give too much ground, and hope to fight him later in the fight. Good right hand, right out of the box. Down goes Frank. Right there.
First punch of the night.
You know, when a fighter takes a fight on only 7 days' notice, you think he might come out and take his shot early because conditioning will be a factor later. Here, he doesn't take a shot. He looks, he waits, hesitates, and bang, he's caught.
And he is hurt, too. It's over. Well, he didn't give the right answer. It's that simple. I'd have probably gone for the state instead of the city there.
It wasn't even close, though.
Referee goes over, asks him where he is, and if he doesn't give the right response, the fight is over, and such is the case.
Well, he took his fight on 7 days' notice. He said he's been dreaming for an opportunity like this for a long time, and I think he was dreaming there with that right hand. Said, I've fought this match so many times in my head, Steve Frank did, but I don't think that was the result he saw in his head.
I'll tell you what, he got caught
off a surprise.
He got caught with a clean right hand. You can see he's still a little glassy-eyed, and he's not totally sure where he is. His feet aren't underneath him, but I'll tell you what, when you come out and fight a fight at this level, having only 7 days' notice, I don't care what you say about living a clean life and always being in shape. Being in shape is one thing. Walking around in reasonable shape is another. Being in boxing condition is a totally different thing.
And coming into this fight, Bobby, he had no respect whatsoever for Bernard Hopkins. I think that has changed, though.
Well, Bernard Hopkins did what he had to do, much as Terry Norris did what he had to do. Both have bigger things coming. For the moment, though, Bernard Hopkins, the man of the moment, and that's all it took. We'll be back. We welcome you back to Phoenix. It was over, and it was over right now. Let's make it official with Jimmy Lennon Jr. Jimmy?
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the time, 24 seconds in round number 1. Our referee in charge, Bobby Ferrara, stops the contest. The winner by way of technical knockout, and still champion, Bernard, the Executioner Hopkins.
Well, one of the few times that I could remember in 20 years or so of doing this sport that the announcement was longer than the fight.
You know, it happens like that sometimes. Obviously, in this case, on paper, it looked like it might happen that way, and that's certainly something we don't like to see.
Let's take another look at it. It was the first punch right out of the box. You see shutouts in baseball. You don't see too many in boxing. Well, you saw one here tonight, folks. A Fox first.
Steve Frank almost looked frozen when he came out. He came out real slow and just looking, dropped the hand, and walked right into a nice right hand, crisp, sharp right hand by the champion Hopkins, and that was it. He could never really recover.
It's not just the fight in boxing, it's also the atmosphere. Steve Franks had never been exposed to this kind of atmosphere before. When he got in the ring, Frank got clocked with that right hand over the top, and down he went. Bernard Hopkins says, my style is changing. I'm still a boxer puncher, but I do not throw unnecessary punches. And I think you can certainly say that about his performance tonight. He sets up this right hand, and boom, right on the money. And Steve Frank was out when he hit the canvas.
Perfect execution, too, as you said. Set it up with a jab. Wasn't a big jab, but it was just enough to get in his face, and then clocked him with the right hand. So Bernard Hopkins continues on the road that he hopes is going to perhaps unify the 160-pound title and then go on to bigger and better. Back with more from Phoenix after this from your local station. All right, welcome back. As you can see, still a little bit of chaos in the center of the ring. Amongst the chaos, Bobby Chez with the winner, Bernard Hopkins. Bobby, you got it.
Yeah, I'm here with the champion, Bernard Hopkins, after a mere few seconds. Bernard, I know you wanted to make a statement in the middleweight division, but that's almost ridiculous. How'd you feel?
I feel good. First, I'd like to give all praises be to Allah, and bear witness there's no God but Allah, and Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings, is his messenger. Yes, I felt good, and Bobby, I talked to you yesterday, and I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to be the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. I think with Butch Lewis and Don King production, we can go ahead and make that dream come true for me. It haven't been a undisputed middleweight champion since the Marvin Hagler days. I don't too much care about the pound for pounds. The Roy Jones and Pernell Whitaker, they can deal with that on themselves. But I want to be the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. We haven't had one since the 80s. And Bobby, I feel great. I think I talked to you yesterday. I'm focused, I'm back, and I just want to prove to the world by my performance. That's all I want to be judged by, is my performance, that I'm the best middleweight in the world. And if I'm not, then I'll pack my bags.
All right, bro, we're going to show you a replay of what is pretty much the whole fight. We want you to call it.
Here I'm setting him up. I see I can hit him with a quick right hand. Straight stuff, and I try to double it up, and he went down, and then I hit him with an uppercut. I seen that move from Tyson. If you remember Tyson, right uppercut that he throws, he put the leverage to it, and I worked on that a lot in the camp for Joe Lipsy. Matter of fact, the other opponent that got a stay of execution.
Okay, now Roy Jones Jr., we know that's kind of a bittersweet name for you. You want him again. You had him once before. What did you learn last time? What would you do next time?
Well,
Do you want him again?
Of course, Bobby. Of course I got to want him again. Every fighter wanted a guy that beat him before. And Roy Jones Jr., no questions about it, most pound for pound, great fighter in the world. He's got a good hand speed. But I need the Roy Jones, the Terry Norrises, the Quincy Tellers, the whoever may concern to make me the undisputed or the best fighter in the world. Roy Jones Jr. is a great fighter. I think that I can capitalize on him, on my ability to be the best fighter. I think that I have to be the best. If Roy is the best, I take my head off to him right now. He's standing as the best in Pernell Whitaker. Then let me challenge any of these guys outside of their league or in their league to prove that I also is a rude to reckon with. And I want the opportunity.
For right now, then, you want to stay in the middleweights, maybe clean up and clear up the middleweight confusion, and before you move on to the super middleweight.
Listen, Bobby, believe it or not, I can get down to 147, 145, and 155, 157 and fight Terry Norris for both of his titles. But if Terry want to fight me, that's great. I think I need Terry right now. I think Terry need me. I think that moving up to 168 is a little premature right now because, you know, I had 10 fights as a super middleweight. Let me go ahead and get my stripes and come up in the ranks, and I'll see Roy Jones if he's still at 168 within a year. If not, I'll take anybody. If Roy say he want to fight me next month or 2 months, HBO call me, I'm ready.
So nothing's set yet, but beware from 147 to 168. We're going to go back upstairs now to James Brown.
All right, Bobby.